All right, let's get into it.
Have you heard the story about the incubator babies? Rows of babies displayed at fairs and amusement parks as a public attraction, exhibited as one of the great medical breakthroughs of the age. That's the official story. To understand how we got there, we have to go back to the 1800s. The story goes that a French doctor got the idea for an infant incubator after seeing warming chambers being used to hatch chickens. The incubators worked. Premature babies who might not have survived suddenly had a much better chance. But back then, hospitals largely refused to use them. Many doctors believed premature babies were a lost cause. And maybe that's exactly what happened. Or maybe hospitals simply weren't prepared for what came next. And this is where things get strange. Because this wasn't a temporary exhibit. Some of these attractions ran for decades, and the money would supposedly pay for their care. But here's what makes the story even stranger. This was the same period filled with stories about children, orphan trains, children's homes, and institutions. Children being moved, housed, and relocated on a massive scale. And now, entire exhibitions dedicated to babies. The deeper you go into this period of history, the more children you seem to find, and the more organised it begins to look. But if these exhibitions attracted thousands of visitors, were they simply looking? Or were some visitors hoping to leave with something more than a ticket stub?
First of all, it's awesome that a device like that exists to help sustain a child's life in need. And I'm sure that back in the day that there was a whole lot of corruption. I mean, there's already a whole lot of corruption now, but I'm almost certain that the corruption was just in plain daylight back then. Nowadays, things happen in the dark webs or back alleys. Back then, if someone had enough money, they could have said right in plain daylight, right in front of everybody, $500, I'll buy that kid. And more than likely, the kid was sold. And some of the people that did adopt those kids more than likely treated them well, but there was probably some very sinister people out there as well.
This goes very deep, and it is very well documented that Heinrich Himmler did have a very strong fascination with the occult and with these esoteric ideologies, and he very much did influence the SS in these teachings. This man actually transformed an old medieval castle in Westphalia into a huge SS esoteric hub. This castle literally became a spiritual center for this regime, for the SS. And he believed that this was going to be the main location, the main hub of a new world order.
It always interests me that all the bad guys in history were really about rituals and very dark magic-like stuff. And they always seem to be very successful in whatever they're doing with these beliefs. But they never have a good ending. That's always the big catch. There's never a good ending for these people, and they're clearly bad people. But it would be nice to see more people doing good things and actually showing the good side of symbolism and it being rewarded, instead of just seeing all of these bad guys and all of the bad symbolism being done to cause power, basically. Where's all the good symbolism that causes power? We need more of that.
We might be living in one of the greatest government psyops of all time. Why is it that every type of healthy food in America right now has some type of outbreak? And I'm not saying there isn't an outbreak going on with them, but isn't it just a funny coincidence, bro? Salad, leafy greens, veggies. They said eggs, bro. But you want some greasy chicken? You want some greasy fried chicken? You want some donuts? Oh, we got plenty. We got an abundance, surplus. They said fresh fruit and frozen fruit. Both kinds, so I just, no more fruit. No more fruit or veggies, okay? And no clean protein, just saturated fats. I drove 30 minutes to Panda Express today, because there's none near my house. When I got to Panda Express, I was excited, as anyone is when they go to Panda. I am a big noodle connoisseur. I get the chow mein, I get a little bit of rice. I walk up to the front, I say, can I have the chow mein? They said there's no chow mein outbreak, noodle outbreak, chow mein virus. Like, since when did viruses and bacteria care about chow mein, bro? Other than Bacillus cereus, which can form heat-resistant spores that germinate and produce a toxin. Then, yeah, okay. Or E. coli, S-Tech O157. You know what I'm saying? Shigella-like toxin, cause bloody diarrhea, vomiting, Listeria monocytogenes, Salmonella, invasion of epithelial and M cells, epithelial invasion by protozoa like Cyclospora, release sporocytes in the intestinal lining. Okay, there's a lot of bacteria that can do this, but they're all attacking at once. They had a meeting. They had a Kage summit, and said we taking all the food down this year. They never cared about chow mein. It's a war on happiness right now. Okay. I was like, you can take the fruits, you can take the vegetables from me, you can take the fibers, you can take everything, but you've taken my chow mein now? You're lying. You're just taking stuff from me for no reason. It. Guess what? They cooked me. Government cooked me. I got 3 sides. I said, let me get the honey walnut shrimp with the teriyaki. Throw some spicy. They got spicy orange chicken now. So we can't find a solution to this chow mein virus, but we can get the spicy orange chicken. I said, I'll have that on the side as well. Washed it down with some sweet tea. I'm gonna run tomorrow and drink some coconut water to cleanse. Again, I'm not saying the outbreaks are fake. Please do not eat any foods that run the risk of contamination for your own health. I'm just saying, are the appropriate precautions being taken to protect our foods in the first place? Or are we being thrown to the waste?
Now, for the most part, I believe this is a bit of satire. I did look up to see if there was a chow mein outbreak at Panda Express, and there's not, but Panda Express stopped serving the cabbage and celery in their chow mein. So maybe that has something to do with it, if this was not just complete satire. And I also looked up if there was some kind of outbreak with chow mein in general, not just with Panda Express, and there is no known outbreak. But the European health authorities recently investigated a multi-country salmonella outbreak linked to flavored instant noodle products. So there's also that to take into consideration. And it seems the main culprit with that is Trader Ming's chicken chow mein, so be on the lookout for that. Overall though, it does really feel like there is a bit of a forced agenda being pushed here on fruits and vegetables. I still have been eating them even since this explosive diarrhea thing has happened. Now, I've avoided some lettuce from specific places, but overall, I have still been eating my vegetables, and I have been fine. But they say this explosive diarrhea thing can take up to 2 weeks to take full effect, so who knows? There's still a chance. Hey, if you haven't done so already, and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this Monday through Friday, early in the morning, and sometimes I upload an extra video later in the afternoon like today. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know about Operation Argus. This operation was born from a wild theory. Physicist Nicholas Christophilos proposed in late 1957 that detonating a nuclear bomb at an extremely high altitude could create an artificial radiation belt circling the Earth. Essentially, they wanted to try and make an invisible force field over America. The theory suggests that a small number of high-altitude blasts over the South Atlantic could create a disk of electrons over the US that would fry the electronics of incoming Soviet warheads and even blind Soviet radar. Planning for Operation Argus was astonishingly fast and, of course, very secretive. It took just 5 months from conception to execution. This was unusually fast by nuclear testing standards. Go figure, they might have skipped some paperwork to do whatever they wanted for this. And the operation was conducted in complete secrecy. US Navy Task Force 88 sent 9 ships and roughly 4,500 men to secretly carry out 3 high-altitude nuclear tests between August and early September 1958. This was all 1 year before the Antarctic Treaty went into place on December 1st, 1959. But I digress. Missiles launched from a single ship in the ocean. Every test launched a modified modified 3-stage X-17 missile carrying a low-yield warhead from the deck of the USS Norton, and they detonated high in Earth's atmosphere. Apparently it worked, sort of. The test proved the effect was real, but the artificial radiation belt dissipated too quickly to be helpful to the military. All this work, all this travel, all this explosion, and it didn't do what they wanted. Go figure. So this was hidden from the public for almost a year, which incidentally is when the Antarctic Treaty went into play. When the Eisenhower administration finally admitted this happened in spring 1959, they hailed it as the greatest scientific experiment ever conducted. Really? Physicist James Van Allen wrote that the Argus experiments were, and I quote, undoubtedly constitute the greatest geophysical experiment ever conducted by man. I don't know. In fact, since this was all coinciding with NASA popping up too, along with the Antarctic Treaty, they rushed the development of a satellite just to watch this happen. The Explorer 4 satellite was hastily instrumented and launched on July 26, 1958, so it would be ready in August for the tests. And this satellite would measure what they would release in the upper atmosphere. This was framed publicly as science and not weapons testing, because saying that you're launching nukes into the upper atmosphere that could send particulates across the globe might make people a little pissed off. Papers were published the following year, deliberately emphasizing that the events purely scientific and not military, even though the military is who carried it out. For weeks after the third detonation, satellites and ground stations kept track of the radiation. There was a faint, glowing, artificial ring of radiation slowly decaying around the Earth, and the public wouldn't even know it existed until a year later, and the government only admitted it happened after there was nothing left to see or track. But what I want to know is how much testing on health on people did they do when these nuclear particulates came back down, potentially affected the areas they were blown up over, which apparently was the whole Earth. And what I also want to know is what happened when they focused their attention on Operation Deep Freeze. I don't know. But I want to know. But what I really want to know is who on that list is going to jail first in America. Because last time I checked, it's still 0.
You know, we hear stories about people claiming that they were abducted by UFOs and experimented on. But what if, in at least some cases, it wasn't extraterrestrials? What if it was a classified government program studying the long-term effects of radiation exposure from experiments like Operation Argus and nuclear testings? And the alien abduction stories become a perfect cover-up to keep people looking at the extraterrestrial side of things instead of the governmental experiments that they could be a part of.
Yeah, Illinois is weird. Like, respectfully, people from Illinois, are y'all okay? I've been making these videos about cryptids and urban legends for a couple months now, and of all the states I've covered, no state has been more casual in its response to the strange and unknown than Illinois. I have read multiple cryptid stories that take place in rural Illinois where this conversation essentially happens. Hey Phil, what you up to? Oh, just hunting for a creature that spits in the face of science and shatters our understanding of the natural order. Neat! Like, I posted a video about how there's a fountain of youth in Chicago, and a bunch of people posted comments talking about how their grandparents used to go fill 5-gallon jugs there as part of their weekend errands. Like, respectfully, what are you talking about? It's the fountain of youth. You don't just stop by as part of your Saturday routine. You think there'd be monsters guarding it, or a riddle or something, but no, it's just a place you stop by on your way home from Meyer. There's just this real attitude of mundaneness that the people of Illinois have that I just do not understand.
So basically, this guy is saying the people of Illinois are the cryptids. If you're from Illinois, let me hear your story.
What if your past life hasn't happened yet? Nobody has ever said that reincarnation has to move forward through time. And this post on X has been getting a lot of people questioning the way we think reincarnation works. The basic idea is that when you die, your soul or consciousness is reborn into a new body sometime in the future. One life ends, another begins, and everything moves forward in a straight line. But what if consciousness doesn't experience time that way? What if your next life, instead of happening a few years after your death, takes place in the past? You could die today and wake up in ancient Egypt or medieval Europe, or even in the Ice Age. Or you could still be born in the future, maybe in the far future on another planet somewhere where humanity barely remembers Earth. And there are people who claim to have experienced something like this. Some regression practitioners say that people under hypnosis have described past lives involving things like plagues, wars, ancient civilizations, you're an ancient Egyptian priestess, and then during the same session, suddenly describing lives that haven't happened yet. Describing places and cities and societies that don't exist yet with strange technology they can see, but they can't name or explain it. But how could that be possible? Well, some researchers, philosophers, and spiritual traditions suggest that while our bodies experience time as a straight line, our consciousness might not. The past, present, and future could all exist simultaneously, even every possible life incarnation stacked together. And whenever we die, maybe we don't move forward, we just shift sideways into another life happening somewhere else. And another trippy thought with this all is that you might not even return as a human. Maybe I need to talk about the egg theory next. But what do you think? And what time period are you spawning back in next?
If reincarnation works that way, it really wouldn't serve a purpose to pick a time as to when you would want to be reincarnated, because you don't really remember. Now, if you were able to remember your past life, oh man, I would want to be born in the time period of like dragons and stuff, so I could just see it, so that when I died and got reincarnated into the future, I could carry those memories over and I would be like, oh man, yeah, that was a crazy time. And you could even share those stories with people that have not been reincarnated in that time yet, which you're technically sharing those stories with yourself in a way. Very interesting stuff. I just wish that if reincarnation worked that way, you could remember all of the things that you went through. I think that that would actually help build you up to be a better person through time. But unfortunately, if this is not my first go around and I've been reincarnated, I don't remember any of my past lives. Let me know if you remember yours.
You see this? Orange skies over San Francisco. This actually happens once in a while. We're told because of the wildfires in Northern California that this occurs. Now, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I live now in Reno, Nevada for the past 30 years. And we get these wildfires too. And that's Northern Nevada, so we're close to Northern California. And while this happened in San Francisco, supposedly attributed to those fires, I mean, not this week, but it's happened. We never got those kind of skies here from the same fires. Now, I know people who are in San Francisco or in that area, and they've told me when this occurred, these orange weird skies, everything got silent, kind of. Everything seemed kind of still. They describe that silence, that stillness, if you want to call it that, almost like a reset or a shutdown. Yeah, those aren't my words. That's the people from that area who I know. That's what they're saying. So my question is this, and it's just a question. Are there more to these orange skies than just because of wildfires in the area? Is it possible, just possible, that something else is going on? No, I'm not saying there is. I'm just asking the question.
I have no experience with this kind of stuff happening in South Carolina or even in Michigan, so I really have no say on this. Now, there's some people in the comments of this video saying that they've lived in the area for quite a while and this is nothing new. But if you're familiar with this, please feel free to share in the comments, let me know. But from what people are saying, this is a normal anomaly. It's not anything abnormal.
This took place in Tennessee. I was about 10 years old. My best friend and I had lost touch for a few years, and when our families reconnected, they had moved. They moved out of town, out into the country. Picture this. A long dirt driveway, no neighbors within sight. They sat on a large piece of land, and at the end of it, there was a log cabin. It had character. I mean, it was genuinely cool. But it was also deeply unsettling after dark. So there were noises that you would expect, an old house doing what an old house does. But his German Shepherd, that was harder to explain. Some nights he would go completely still, just kind of sit there, staring at the corner of a room. But we kind of filed it away, right? It's an old dog, weird habits, probably nothing. Then one night, my friend woke me up, nudging me, Jason, wake up. Something's wrong with Julia. He had an older sister as well, and his older sister's room sat just off of the living room where we would set up camp. We kind of snuck over to her room, quietly opened her door, looked up, and there was a dark mass on the ceiling above her bed. This was a dark, kind of swirling mass, slow, deliberate, directly over where she was sleeping. Oh, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. He immediately hit the light on. She jolted up. He was asking her if she's okay. She's okay. She had no idea what we were talking about. Figured we had a bad dream. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Another night, I had the most vivid, most disturbing dream I'd ever had. When I woke up the next morning, I went straight to my friend and told him about it. I said, hey, I had this terrifying nightmare last night. And he looked at me and he said, I did too. So I told him my dream. I had woken up to the sound of the dog growling. And when I sat up, there was this figure crouched in the corner of the room. It was wearing this full Native American headdress, crouched, totally still, and then it slowly turned and made eye contact with me and pointed at me. As soon as I told my friend this, the blood drained from his face. He went ghost white. And he said, that was my dream too. He described the same figure, same corner, same movement, same thing. Some years had passed. We moved out of state, they moved out of state, and we reconnected. One summer, we decided to make a road trip and drive back down there. We drove out to the old log cabin. It was not there. It was gone. Now we started asking around, and what we found was this. The land that cabin sat on for over a century was Native American burial ground. The cabin is gone, but I guarantee you that energy is not.
I've never had an experience where I shared the same dream with someone else. I've always wanted to. I thought that would be really cool, actually, especially if you're sharing it with like your significant other. But unfortunately, that's never happened with me. Now, I have seen shadowy figures swirling around and or standing in corners, but that's about as far as it goes for me. Maybe all those other places that I lived were also on burial sites.
Now here is a super strange Bigfoot trail cam photo. This one was posted on August 24th, 2025, so almost a year ago now. The uploader didn't state where exactly it was taken, but they said it was taken miles back into a dense forest. Take a look. Now you can see why I call this a super strange Bigfoot photo. It's obviously some kind of bipedal, primate-like figure hunched down facing away from the camera. It's hunched over, arms in front, maybe looking at something on the ground. What has people talking is the overall frame of the mysterious figure. It seems very short and stubby, with a unique build to say the least. It has skinnier legs, followed by a wide midsection and upper portion. Bro's definitely been skipping leg day. But in all seriousness, what the heck is this? Is it a juvenile Bigfoot?
I don't know about that one. If anything, I would say that that's the back end of a boar. Maybe even a bear, but I'm leaning more towards a boar. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Again, it could also be a Bigfoot that skipped leg day.
All right, let's talk about the benefits of a plant-based diet versus eating meat. I'm sure you've heard 100 different diets by now, and people saying you gotta eat this way or you gotta eat that way, or if you don't eat this food you can't get this vitamin, and this is the only ethical way to eat and you can't eat any other foods besides these ones, and I'm sure you're sick of it. And if you're a fan of this channel, you know we have common sense conversations here to help us get closer to the truth. It's well balanced, it's not radical, I don't lean one way or the other. I just look at the facts, look at what they produced, and then give you advice based on that. So if you'd like to learn what a good diet is, stick around for this video. The short and quick answer is plant-based diets are great. You see bodybuilders on them and they're absolutely jacked, so you're definitely getting enough protein. As far as certain vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you basically can only get from animals, there's lots of supplements, and there's this little known fact about animals, something they're able to do, and that is to convert base elements to other things. in their body. They did this study on, it was a type of crustacean, like a snail or a crab or something, and this particular species would replace their entire shell in 3 days. So they get rid of their old shell, they'd go hide under a rock, and in 3 days they would produce a brand new shell. The scientists were absolutely baffled by this, because they're like, they found out how much calcium was in their diet, and it's calcium carbonate, which builds the shell. So whatever carbonate comes from. They found out how much was in their diet. They found out how much was like in ambient levels in the seawater, and they were like, that only accounts for 3% of the calcium carbonate. How are they creating the shell? Well, it's like they created it out of magic. Or we can, at the subatomic level, build molecules, elemental molecules. And I believe this is the case. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but when I look at that, and there's no other explanation for how they built their shell and how they came up with that calcium carbonate, the only thing I can think is that we can subatomically rearrange things in our body and produce the things that we need. And I do believe that we're capable of doing that. You can't take my word on it. The science has not proven that yet, but they have proven that you can produce, and I believe this goes way beyond crustaceans, because I mean, if we're digging evolution, we share common ancestors with them, and I do believe that we're able to do it too. That we can, if we're getting a lot of the right stuff, our body knows how to give us the rest of the right stuff. But even if you don't want to rely on that, there's tons of supplements to give you those few things that they say that you need from meat. I don't think you need anything. I think there's lots of evidence to suggest that there's been vegetarian populations that didn't become malnutritioned. And so in general, it's great. It's just, you gotta make sure you're getting the right stuff. And in any event, even if you're not on a plant-based diet, also other science has shown that it's important to have a 70% alkaline to 30% acidic as a bare minimum to be healthy and to not get like acidosis and like other stuff that's not good for you. So the things that are acidic are meats and cheeses and sweet fruits. Things that are alkaline are lemons, limes, dark leafy green vegetables. I mean, most of your diet should be dark leafy green vegetables. I mean, there's no question about that. There's no argument across all of the science that most of your food should be dark leafy green vegetables. They're the most nutrient dense, and they have a lot of the stuff that you would find in meat, like your iron and your protein and so on and so forth. And they have tons of other vitamins and minerals. They're absolutely excellent for you. And one of the best dark green foods, and it's not a leafy vegetable, but still it's even better in a lot of ways than most of it, is chlorella and spirulina. You can get this in a powder. I believe you could probably get it in some other form, and also cold pressed tablets. Make sure you get the cold pressed ones, because the cold press means they weren't heated, and when you heat things, you denature them, right? So the less you heat your food is another thing, the more nutrients you're going to get from it. When you heat your food up, you trade nutrients for flavor. So think about that too.
When it comes to fruits and vegetables and meats, and if people are eating the right things, I honestly think, and I'm not no professional by any means, but in my mind, I believe that it's user specific. I know some people that just cannot eat meat. If they eat red meat specifically, it just makes them sick. It makes them not feel good. They don't mind the taste. They love the way it tastes. They just hate the way it makes them feel. They'd much rather eat more vegetables and fruits than meats, because just on how it makes them feel. People like that, in my opinion, are just simply not meant to eat meat. Their body was just simply not meant to digest meat that way, but they can handle the fruits and vegetables. And then I know some people that as soon as they eat lettuce, it's going to give them explosive diarrhea, and that was before explosive diarrhea was a thing, and or tomatoes. But when it comes to eating meats of all kinds, pork, chicken, beef, they can handle it just fine. Those type of people are meant to eat meats. I really do believe that it's user specific. When it comes to fruits and vegetables and meats, for me, I can pretty much handle all fruits and vegetables and all meats. My weakness is when it comes to dairy production. I cannot handle cheese or milk very well. My stomach does not digest it whatsoever. But everything else, I'm fine. Now, is there benefits of eating one thing over the other? Sure. But I also think that eating one thing over the other isn't necessarily harmful for some people. Though again, I'm not any kind of specialist of whatsoever to give that kind of information, so just take what I say with a grain of salt. And let me know what you think in the comments. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. With that, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I'm doing my best. If today's your birthday, happy birthday. And if not, have a good day anyways.